What are you doing in there, Mr. Fish?
That's a very scary building.
Okay, I'll stay away from it.
Today we are going to explore Milledgeville in Baldwin County, Georgia. It's about 90 miles southeast of Atlanta. It takes about an hour and 20 minutes on the interstate, but I would highly recommend to take side roads to the country. It's a much better scenery. Milledgeville was established in 1804 and named after the governor at that time, John Milledge. It was modeled after Savannah and Washington, D.C., and it was a capital of Georgia from 1804 until 1868, when the capital was moved again to Atlanta because of better railroad infrastructure. The first stop on this journey is home and now a museum of Flannery O'Connor. She was a novelist and a short story writer. Her compiled short stories won the U.S. National Book Award in 1972. She was born in 1925 in Savannah, Georgia, and her home there is also a museum now. Her family moved to Milledgeville in 1940, but her father died the following year. In 1952, she was diagnosed with lupus, the same illness that her beloved father suffered from. She remained for the rest of her life on this farm. She died in 1964 at the age of 39.
Welcome to the farmhouse kitchen. Over 95% of the space is original, from the apron to the glassware down to the spices over on that shelf right there. Record stating that this is the ugliest piece of furniture they've ever seen.
It is very goth.
You know, she really loved it because it was so gothic.
Mm-hmm.
Domain, the porch was definitely Flannery's. She would spend hours out here reading, and any guests, fans, or reporters would come to meet her out here.
Was she social? Did she enjoy meeting with reporters and all that?
Absolutely, she loved.
She wasn't a reclusive writer at all?
No, she loved meeting fans. She loved discussing her works with other authors. So she was still, a Southern woman at heart. She was very social, very kind. Welcome to the bedroom of Flannery O'Connor. Now, this layout is exactly how it was during their time here. She could get around in this room without any assistance.
This is so interesting.
Yeah, of course.
And she never married, right?
She did not marry. Her loves were truly her writing and her faith.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
of course.
Thank you.
So my name is Maggie. I'll be your docent today. I'm a student here at Georgia College, and to start from the very, very beginning on this property, we had the government house before the mansion was ever built. So on the corner of our property where the road is, you might have saw some stairs that led up to absolutely nowhere, and that's our little remnant left of the government house. So once the state decided the governor needed a more elaborate home, they decided to move the government house where Georgia Military College is now, which is only about 2 blocks from here, and then create the mansion now. So Charles Kleske was the head architect of this building. Timothy Porter was the head contractor. And Timothy Porter brought down a team of Irish American immigrants from up north to live alongside the enslaved of the property to build the mansion. It was actually the enslaved who handmade all the bricks that the mansion's composed of as well. So a lot of her work went into it.
Yeah.
It was built from 1836 to 1839. So we do have an etching above our front door. It says 1838. That is wrong. It took 1 year longer to construct the mansion than was perceived. But we had 8 governors live in this building. 9 served in Milledgeville. How you're seeing the mansion now is actually how Governor Cobb would have had it during his administration of 1851 to 1853. So the mansion is composed of 3 floors. Right now we're in the daylight basement, meaning this is actually a private floor. This is where most of the enslaved would do most of their work throughout the day. So we do have our 3 stations. Over by this window we have laundry with a washboard. And then by another window over here we have dishwashing with the lye soap on corn on the cob. The corn on the cob was basically used as their scrub daddy at the time, so they would scrub their dishes with that. And we do have our workroom table here in the center. It's not only used to assemble very large cakes, but also to fold laundry, maybe the steward fixing a chair, more of like extra counter space for us now. And the cake that's on there now is apples à la Parisienne. It was a cake made for one of Queen Victoria's daughter's weddings. It basically equates to an apple pound cake of today. So this here is our banquet kitchen, or our secondary kitchen. And then these 2 irons here on either side that has these spheres at the top, these are Governor Cobb's. So they would use these to heat up their stews or soups, maybe even some water for some tea for the state dining room before having a levee. About 25% of our collection is original, and then everything else is going to be from the time period or remakes. Old Jim was the steward of Governor Brown. He's a very busy man, and Old Jim, as all other stewards as well, had a uniform that consisted of a denim jacket with brass buttons, as well as the white pants there on the desk chair. So this is more of a tell sign of who they were when they were running errands for the governor. So we're going to walk through a storage closet here, and this is where guests at the mansion could store their chests if they were staying here for the time.
I love these old chests.
I know, I do too. They're beautiful.
They are beautiful.
So here we have our pantry. It is quite large.
My wife will love this.
Right. I want one of these in my house one day. But during our restoration, we actually found indentions in our ceiling, and that's how we knew all these cabinets were here. So these are remakes, but it was how it would look like in the time period.
I love this piece.
Yeah,
What
so
is this?
these are tea tins. So you can see one has Japan written on it. It's very neat. I love them. But they would actually keep all their tea in here, dry leaf tea, and then through this door here is our cold storage underneath our front steps. So the cold storage has a crawl space that goes deeper on either side as well. And they have to ship in ice from the New England lakes and then ship it all the way back down here, which is very expensive. It's very convenient to have your pantry and your storage room right next to your state dining room.
This pantry is huge. I've never seen such a...
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So this here is our state dining room. This is where you would host all of your levees, or your state dinners, of course. The lower end of levees, the guest list being about 50 guests, their upper end being about 300. You can't fit
In this room?
Yes, you can't fit 300 people in this room. So you'd have a flow going in between here for a buffet style dinner, up to the room right above us, which is the grand salon for the dance floor.
Oh, okay.
So this here's our ladies' parlor.
Blown away.
So the ladies' parlor had 2 main functions to it. The first being that this is where the lady of the house, or the governor's wife, would take kind of like appointments about 2 days out of the week for a maximum of 15 minutes each. Once your 15 minutes was up, didn't matter if your tea was still hot or you didn't finish it, you had to go. So she had to get the next lady in here. One of the ladies hosting these appointments would have been Mary Ann Lamar Cobb. She was Governor Cobb's wife. She was a cotton heiress before even getting married, so her dowry was quite large. But thank goodness for Governor Cobb. Governor Cobb spent a lot of money. He was our most extravagant governor, so he did actually have to dig into her dowry a little bit to help with that. And we do have Elizabeth Grisham Brown here as well. She was the wife of Joseph Emerson Brown, who's depicted below her. That is not a scarf, that is a neck beard. And they were here for the longest. So governor's terms were 2 years. He'd be re-elected to serve a total of 4. And at the end of his 4th year, they asked him to stay about 6 months longer because the Civil War broke out. So the Civil War, the South thought they were going to win pretty easily. Of course, they did not. And ended up being 4 more years. They're here for a total of 8. So the longest out of all of our governors. And then the second function of this room being a courting room. So that's why we have the a-tete couch, or translated to a side-by-side couch. I like to call it, like here in the South, leave room for Jesus couch. Of course, a separating recording couple. Holding hands in the time period while you're recording was the same as being married, so he didn't do it. So we also have our sunshades in here, and these are depictions we found from a magazine of the time period.
Oh, okay.
And we had someone else come and hand paint them for us. So it's supposed to show young ladies how to behave with her boyfriend out in public. So always reaching for each other but never touching, even going as far in the swing scene of him having a rope to pull her instead of having to push her back. So we have a few original objects in here as well. So we have Miss Mary Virginia Brown's family Bible. This is Elizabeth and Governor Brown's daughter. And we do have Governor Towns' coffin piano where his daughter would practice, as well as Miss Mary Ann Lamarco's writing desk, one of her books in an envelope she wrote on. Her handwriting was quite beautiful as well.
It is beautiful.
And then all of our medallions above our chandeliers as well, those are still original. When Georgia Military College came in, they actually put all of our medallions and our windows in our attic. So a lot of our glass is still original as well. But Charles Kluski, when he made this building, he wanted a Greek revival style, and we're actually one of the best examples in the nation, so go us. But we actually did just renew our stucco layer over top, and this actually would have been the original color of the outside as well.
Okay.
But the coolest part about this room, and the one I love talking about the most, is the flooring. So in this framed piece, we have an original piece of our flooring we found in our attic. And when we found this, we realized it was hand-painted canvas, and you can tell from this corner over here. So when we found that out, we stretched canvas across this room and the rotunda. We made a stencil out of this piece, and we had someone else come and hand-paint it for us. Wow. So this is still hand-painted canvas in the exact same pattern of 1851, with 15 layers of shellac over it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yes, there's a lot to look at in here. So this here's our grand salon, emphasis on grand. And the grand salon also had two main functions. The first being, this was the men's cave. So this is where the men could come in, they would gamble, drink alcohol, smoke cigars, talk about politics, all that good manly stuff of 1851. And then the second function being a ballroom. So this is where they would host the dance part of levees. Yeah. That's why a lot of our furniture has little tiny wheels at the bottom. It's actually time period appropriate, so you can move those easily out of the way.
Okay.
And then we have a few more of our portraits in here. We have Thomas Ruger here at the end. Thomas Ruger was the last governor to live here. He was an appointed Union general to oversee the capital moving from Milledgeville to Atlanta during the Reconstruction after the Civil War. But even though he's a Union general, Milledgeville actually ended up loving him. So quite strange, but...
He's a good man.
Yeah. Governor Cobb was originally from Athens, and he actually graduated from UGA as a lawyer, and he hated Milledgeville. He thought it was a very uneventful and dreary place, so he would make a lot of trips back up to Athens to kind of get his home feel. We do have his two velvet rockers over there as well, and there's actually a bit of picking on the inside of one of the arms, and it's in the exact same spot on the other chair, so just something he would do as a nervous tic while sitting in either of them.
This place is so luxurious, you know.
It is.
Back in 1850s, this was it. I mean, English king maybe lived like this.
That right? Yes. So here we have the office. This is Governor Brown's original desk. So a lot of Civil War documents did pass by that desk. A little fun fact about that desk is that Kathy Cox, the current president of Georgia College, actually used this desk when she was serving as Secretary of State for this state of Georgia before we knew it was Governor Brown's. Once we figured that out, we did bring it here. But she'll still come and see her old desk every now and then. So most of our governors did have a legal background, except for Thomas Ruger, of course, who had a military background. And then here above the lamp, we do have Governor McDonald. He was the first governor to live in here. And he moved in when it was brand new in 1839. He didn't host a lot of social events here because Milledgeville was not a very good place financially at the time. And he was worried about the look it would have towards the people. And then the first event he did have here was for his daughter's wedding, Mary Ann, and it was in the Grand Salon. But there was a man named here, Billy Springer, who attended. He was about 500 pounds. And he broke a sofa while attending. So,
500?
Yes. So here is our family dining room.
Oh my gosh, it's getting better and better.
Right? Just wait. It gets even better, I promise. So here is where the family would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you had to be a very honored guest, and it was very rare to get an invite in here if you were, of course, not a part of the family. And then we do have a few more of our portraits. Governor Jenkins. We have Governor Towns. You saw his piano in the ladies' parlor. He was a kind of more uptown, classy governor. A lot of people think he looks like Christopher Walken, the actor.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And then we also do have a little tiny picture of Sherman, because Sherman did stop by the mansion. He actually slept in this room and held his meetings in here as well. But when Governor Brown heard word he was coming, him and his family got out of the mansion and took all the contents of the mansion with them. Of course, the state did not provide any furniture or any furnishings for the mansion, so that's why you had to be higher class if you were elected governor, because you had to pay for everything coming in here. So they did take everything, including that massive couch there at the end, which is Governor Brown's. So this is my favorite room of the entire house. I love showing it because this is our rotunda. So the rotunda is basically the waiting room. So whenever someone had an appointment with the governor, they'd come through this door here, which is the foyer, and then sit in one of these chairs and look up at the 23-karat gold leaf ceiling, mine from Dahlonega, Georgia, and then walking through their meeting through this door here. So it was more of an intimidation tactic of showing the power of the governor, but also it echoes extremely well.
Yes.
So this is a great thing that they noticed after building it, that the governor could hear anything being whispered about him before the meeting even commenced. So here's the main bedroom. This is where the governor and his wife would both sleep. We do have a lot of original objects in here. So we have Governor Brown's desk, another one. This is more for his personal use, for letters to friends or family, but his wife Elizabeth could also use it.
It's beautiful.
And we do also have Governor Brown's bed frame. So all of this is his, as well as the crazy quilt on the bed here. This is something his wife Elizabeth and their daughter Mary Virginia made together. More of a mother-daughter bonding time. But you can see MVB 1855, of course Mary Virginia Brown, the daughter, later on MVC 1874 for after she got married.
And what is this here in the middle?
So that is a bed warmer. So you put holes in it, yes.
That's right.
Some people just rub it in their sheets. Other people, if they were short enough or it wasn't as hot, then they would leave it in the foot of the bed. And then here, one of my other favorite parts is the mustache cup. I don't know why, I just find it so interesting. I think we need to bring them back, but of course you would have that piece to cover your mustache from getting wet or getting foam in it. But I find it pretty neat, but you can see where the gold has been worn away from the use of it. The top one there is actually Mary Virginia when she was about 8 years of age, but she does look quite older. She looks like a teenager in it, but it was actually customary to paint your young girls a little bit older than they were. And then here we do have the top of the rotunda. You can see that 23-karat gold leaf a little bit better now. So we mentioned that you can't see the dome from the outside, but of course you actually can see the cupola at the top with all the windows.
Yes.
So in the summer, they would open up those windows and then open up all the mid doors here in the middle floor, even ones that went outdoors, get a breeze going through the house, let the heat to escape through the top.
Now, how do you get up there to open those?
The only catch is that you have to open these windows from the outside.
From the outside.
Yes. So we do have a little window in our attic that allows you roof access to open up these windows from the roof.
There are so many interesting historical houses and buildings in this town, but the most imposing is the old Capitol building, seat of government for the state of Georgia from 1807 till 1868. It's now a military college. This was the first building in America built in the Gothic Revival style. General Lafayette visited the building in 1825. He fought in the American Revolutionary War and then returned to France to fight in their revolution. He was considered a national hero in both countries. Don't miss the opportunity to visit the Memory Hill Cemetery. This is a final resting place of Flannery O'Connor and many other interesting people who lived in this town. One of them is William Fish. In 1972, he built a brick mausoleum to protect the remains of his wife Sarah and daughter who died suddenly. Local legend is that William placed his rocking chair inside the tomb and shot himself. Stories say that if you knock 3 times on the entrance and ask,
What are you doing in there, Mr. Fish?
you might hear an answer. Luckily, I didn't hear anything.
Salty Cross.
Another interesting person buried in this cemetery is Annie Abbott, known as a Little Georgia Magnet. She was most known for the lift test performance. Although she was a small, slender woman of 100 pounds, several strong men could not lift her. Many believed that she possessed supernatural powers. There is so much to see in Milledgeville, but don't skip the opportunity to see Men's State Prison in nearby Hardwick. It held approximately 600 medium and minimum security prisoners. It was built in the 1950s and closed in 2011. This adventure would not be complete without visiting what was once the largest mental patient hospital in the world. It is known as Milledgeville State Hospital or Central Hospital. There are over 200 buildings on this 2,000-acre property, and the most prominent are Powell Building and Jones Building. The first patient was accepted in 1842, but in 2010 it was announced that the hospital will be closing.
At one point, this hospital took care of 12,000 people. They had 6,000 employees. Georgia Lunatic Asylum, 1883. A morbid place.
This is when things got a little strange.
This is why Milledgeville's famous. That place right here.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that was the crazy house.
And no one is in there now,
Oh,
right?
no, nobody lives in there now. And from here, you see that building right behind us? That in the 1800s, that used to be a place where they did experiments on people that, were having issues. But it wouldn't go in the yard and it wouldn't stay too long around. Curtains are out and ring. And you'll see, like today, hardly any wind. You'll see things moving.
Oh, really?
Kind of scary place. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Kind of like here. If you ever walk up to it, from where that corner is to this other corner underneath, you see that little gate? That's where they brought everybody in, underneath that.
Okay.
You see the doors and stuff where they brought them in.
Okay.
It was, that's definitely where Jeffrey Dahmer and a lot of people, Helter Skelter have been in this building. Now, a lot of bad things happen here and over there, and you can feel it in both places. You can feel it. I tell everybody, just be careful. You'll see the gate open, don't go in there. You get in trouble.
So actually, you seen that?
Yeah, oh yeah. yeah, you don't go in that place, and you'll see some movement in there. every now
Oh
and
my
then.
gosh.
The curtains will move. It's hard to go and you go through a night and you feel the wind change and the temperature. That building over there is definitely haunted. Now I've seen two things happen that I can't explain. I've seen a guy actually come out and he's in a wheelchair. He'll come out and look at you. The other one is the evil spirit, and you'll feel it. You'll see him go through window to window, make movements. There was a reason they didn't leave here, and I don't know what it was, and I don't want to find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a haunted place. A lot of terrible things happen on these grounds here.
Yes.
Real bad stuff. 1800s, these people had no idea what mental health was.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
they warehoused them, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, the buildings are interesting, but the stories about people are even more interesting,
Well, yeah,
I
that's
think.
what makes it, you know, personal.
Yes.
Personal, who was there, knowing that Jeffrey Dahmer walked these halls, knowing that Elder Skelter walked these houses. That's a very scary building.
Okay.
And
I'll stay away from it.
At this point, it finally occurred to me that I need to get out of here. After you're done with chasing ghosts, you'll probably be hungry and thirsty. Make sure to try out the Italian restaurant in downtown Milledgeville, The Brick. The food is very, very good. Hopefully you won't have to drive after, because a strong drink might be in order after these spooky adventures. I love Milledgeville. It's a young and vibrant college town, full of history and also hope for the future. There's a lot of good and bad things that happen here, just like in any other place. But should we ignore and forget all the bad stuff? I hope Milledgeville will find a way to restore all of its old buildings and attract many, many people to see all of its former glory and the other side. We need places like this to learn and to remember.
Close your eyes, hear the voice within, calling this heavy load got under your skin. All in, you got the white knuckles holding on it tight, keeping your feelings bottled up inside, heading for collision and denial. To really live, you gotta die. Breathe in, breathe out. Hey, come alive. Breathe in.